So on the Badaun case, a complete U-turn? Is there compelling new evidence or a botch-up? Joining us to debate this, Vrinda Grover, the well-known advocate who's been following this case very, very closely. Gaurav Bhatia, head of the legal cell of the Samajwadi Party. From Bangalore, we are joined by D.R. Karthikeyan, the former CBI director. And with me in the studio, Dr. S.K. Shukla, ex-director of the Central Forensic Sciences Laboratory, Hyderabad and Chandigarh, and the current director of the Amity Institute of Forensic Science. Thank you all very much for joining us. Vrinda Grover, ma'am, why do you believe that there is that the CBI is pursuing a wrong lead or a wrong line of investigation?
Let me make it very clear right at the start. I do not know who has committed this crime. What all of us do know is that there are two young girls who are dead today.
Yes.
I am only looking at the material that is available in the public domain, and I'm also very closely observing the manner in which the CBI is conducting the investigation and is very, very carefully presenting things in the media. I actually have many, many questions for your panelists who are experts on this matter. First of all, let us not forget there is a post-mortem report which says that there are injuries. That post-mortem report is available. I have seen the post-mortem report. I've also asked other forensic experts who have all said that this indicates use of force. There are injuries on the genitals in the vulva. Secondly, the CBI was the local police, the UP DGP, Mr. Banerjee, was very quick to dismiss this and say, no, this post-mortem is all wrong. It's not been conducted properly. It's conducted by three persons. A physician, a surgeon, and the third doctor is a gynecologist and obstetrician. All three competent doctors. Why are we dismissing this? Does it not suit a preconceived theory that the CBI and some others in power wish to pursue? Secondly, lie detector tests are not at all, not only are they illegal and unlawful and not admissible in evidence, it is not science. Why is it that the CBI has very carefully, deliberately planted in the media what are the results of the investigation? I would like to know from the former CBI director that is it protocol during investigation to keep leaking out information which suits a certain theory, build a public opinion which then forms completely into the conclusion that you wish to take.
Ma'am, I'll ask.
The last thing that we have brought on record now,
but Ms. Grover, you've raised lots of points. Last thing, we've got time.
Is on the DNA.
I will come back to you. We'll talk about DNA, but you've raised an important point.
My point is very clear.
No, ma'am, you've got to listen to me. Ms. Grover, ma'am, this can only work if we can converse with each other, ma'am. We've got other panelists also, but you've raised an important point. You have said that there is a preconceived theory on the basis of which the CBI is operating. Why do you believe they have a preconceived theory? That's my question to you, ma'am.
Because they are presenting it to the media. Please do a media tracking of this case.
Why would they have a
conspiracy? They actually plant the suspicion in our minds.
Why? My question to you is, what is your suspicion?
I don't know who's done it.
No, but ma'am, you are saying that they are operating according to a preconceived theory.
But you
don't know why it's happening.
It's not you. Actually, it's a very wrong question to put to me. And because I can only make further conjectures, and I am questioning conjectures made by an agency, and therefore I will not indulge in conjecture. I am saying this looks.
But isn't it a conjecture that you are raising?
Confidence.
Isn't it a conjecture also that you are raising?
No,
there is a bias, a preconceived theory.
No, I am not. No, I am not.
Okay.
No, I'm not. I'm saying, why did you dismiss the post-mortem report? Okay. When a DNA report shows neither male DNA nor female DNA, that means, and you have an expert on the show, it means that the DNA sample was not preserved properly and has disintegrated. There is not even the DNA of the person who's close, of the girl who's close there. What does that indicate? Why is it that Indian Express then says she would have had casual sex? What are we trying to imply here? That is why I'm saying this investigation is not inspiring confidence.
Okay. All right. Mr. D.R. Karthikeyan, sir, how would you respond to that? Lots of questions raised. Firstly, evidence from the post-mortem seems to suggest, and you know, the use of the word rape is often used wrongly at various levels. That's a legal term. The fact is, was there sexual violence or not? and there seems to be indicators in the post-mortem report of sexual violence. Do you believe that that being the case, the CBI now saying that in fact it wasn't rape is questionable?
See, I have not been following the case closely as Ms. Grover has been doing. But if the postmortem says something, normally it is believed, it's accepted prima facie. And in this case, we are going, I think, mostly on speculations. Who says that CBI has come to this decision, formed this opinion and all that? Who says that? Yeah. You see, and how do we go on that? Till the final report is submitted by the CBI in the court, either a charge sheet or a closure report, even that it is not final. Because unless we see what is the final report filed, then you can debate. Like for instance, the CBI submitted a final report in Arushi murder case, telling there is no evidence, close it. But the court did not accept it. Because the CBI can only put before the court what evidence they have collected. And on that basis, what opinion they are forming. But it is not binding on the court. Court can say no. So Arushi murder case, they wanted to close the case. In fact, on the final report, I said no, they should have charge sheeted it. And after 2 weeks, the trial court said no, on the basis of the final report, they are being charged. Okay. Not only for disciplinary evidence, even for murder. That's a different matter. It's pending in the court. We will not comment on that. Okay. What I'm saying is, one is we don't know what the CBI has come to a conclusion, and what is the evidence on they have collected it, whether they're believing the postmortem
so you believe that we need to
all that is on
before accusing anybody of a preconceived theory. One moment, Vrinda.
Yeah, only on.
Okay, just one moment, sir. I want to, and Vrinda also, Gaurav Bhatia, I want to come to you next. Gaurav, the prime accused in this case had admitted his crime. Why then has the CBI, or do you believe it's strange that the CBI has twisted it around? On the one hand, you've got somebody who is believed to be the prime accused. On the other hand, the CBI says there are questions being raised about the family of the victims. Isn't that strange?
Vishnu, I would just like to say that this is a very good example of how a media trial is conducted, how politicians rush to a spot to politicize an issue. But I think everybody should exercise restraint. And whether it is the state prosecuting agency or whether it is the CBI which is collecting evidence, I think the final arbiter is the court. Now, in this case, a post-mortem report says something else, and DNA profiling and forensic report says something else. All these pieces of evidence would be placed before the court. The court, if the CBI files a charge sheet or files a final report, the court has to decide whether it would accept the charge sheet or the final report or not.
Okay.
And by getting into various theories, like we did in the Arushi murder case, it is clear that we have not learnt our lessons. If we really want justice to be done, we need to have some faith in the judiciary. We need to have some faith in the
nobody is questioning the judiciary. When it comes to the judiciary, they will decide one way or the other. We are discussing the way it's going.
One more point.
We are discussing the judiciary.
I am also talking about the investigation.
We are not prejudging the CBI or anybody else. We are merely asking questions.
Vishnu, all that discussion that is taking place on your show right now also regarding various theories and presumptions and conjectures and surmises should not happen. And I am saying it as a responsible advocate. I think it is important that we exercise restraint. And yes, the media should step in if they feel that the investigating agency is not following the law. That is the time that the media should step in.
No, but
person can approach the court also.
The media has stepped in this particular case because Vrinda Grover on this program says that the law is not being followed. The procedure is not being followed.
Let me give you an example.
For example, when it comes to lie detector tests, the CBI seems to be relying heavily on lie detector tests. But lie detector tests are, according to the law, not something which can be applicable at the end of the day. They are not the final proof of...
Vrindaji is right on that.
Right. So therefore,
is right on that.
So when you say, Gaurav, and I'm not defending the media, well, maybe I am, but the fact of the matter is the media is involving itself over here because important points have been raised by well-known lawyers who say that there is illegality being committed.
No, even well-known lawyers at times might have to exercise restraint. That is my point. I'm not blaming the media. I'm saying the media has a very important role to play. but it should only be exercised if the investigating agency is found not following law. And also, your channel was still exercising restraint, but I remember some channels, Vishnu, which were actually pronouncing judgments over Badaun case. And today, the stand of the UP government is vindicated by the fact that another report is coming. I will not get into merits because the final arbiter is the court. And to the politicians also, you remember how politicians were rushing to the spot to gain some brownie points, and now they are not even to be seen to make statements or help the family of the victim.
Okay.
That I think is,
that's a larger issue, and I completely take your point over there. Vrinda, you have a point. Go ahead.
Yes, just very short point. Both to Mr. Karthikeyan and Gaurav. We are being told exercise restraint. That is exactly my plea. Mr. Karthikeyan says, how does anybody know? Who is the investigating agency? CBI. How do we know what could have happened in the lie detector test? CBI. How do we know what the DNA test says? CBI. Why is the CBI planting these stories? Why? I think the answer is very obvious. They want to build a perception. They want to create a ground. None of us are going to the media. We don't know. Why is the CBI following this pattern of planting stories to shape public opinion, to create a perception that this is the right person, this is the wrong person? How do we all know this? Only the CBI has access to this information. I think the CBI needs to be put on the mat and asked to exercise restraint.
Okay, just one moment, Gaurav. Vishnu, I want to go across to Dr. S.K. Shukla. One second, Gaurav. You know, you've been listening very patiently, and I'm sorry I have not come to you earlier. You are an expert at forensic science. I want to know, one moment, Vrinda, I just want to know about a post-mortem. A point apparently raised by the CBI was that the initial post-mortem was wrongly conducted, apparently because all post-mortems need to be conducted during the day. When in fact the law suggests that if the light is good enough, it can still be conducted. So that is questionable. Secondly, an initial post-mortem, can it necessarily prove rape? Is it right for a post-mortem report to actually say that? Or can rape only be proved after the CFSL or another agency comes in?
In fact, Vishnu, forensic examination, DNA examination is necessary to prove nowadays that rape has been conducted. And DNA examination is very accurate technique. See, even 0.1 nanogram amount is available to the scientist, it can be done. In rape cases where semen is there, sperm heads, 15 to 20 sperm heads are available. Even then it can be done. It's so very good technique, and reliability factor is 1:300 billion. So almost accurate technique. And nowadays we have to rely on this technique.
But the definition of rape has also changed. It's now changed to penetration, right? Of all sorts. And therefore, who can pronounce that accurately? Why does one necessarily have to prove that that there was sperm in a particular case? When in this particular case, for example, there is evidence of sexual violence.
For forensic labs, we have to check this presence of sperms or DNA.
Fair enough.
And before that, no case comes to us. Cases are only sent, samples are only sent.
So, second question to you. The CBI feels that the initial post-mortem was not good. They believe, they tried to actually get the bodies out, but then there was water. It's been a while. The bodies would have decomposed. Ultimately, they were unable to retrieve the bodies. Had they been able to retrieve the bodies, after some time passes, would a DNA test still be accurate?
Yeah, very accurate. I said there are full chances of getting 15 to 20 sperm heads there. So chances are
even with a period of time.
Yeah, sometimes deterioration may be there, definitely, and contamination is one of the.
In fact, the shots that we have are when water actually came in, and so they were ultimately unable to retrieve the body. But even in a situation like this, you believe a decomposed body, I mean, you can.
Yeah. Okay. Here it is possible. Here it is possible that entire amount of the DNA may get disintegrated. Okay. It is a possibility.
It is a possibility.
Yeah.
Gaurav, you wanted to say something, and then Vrinda, last word to you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I totally agree with what Brinda ji is saying, that a prosecuting agency should not be distributing information that is sensitive. And in many cases we have seen prosecuting agencies share their case diary with the accused. It happens very regularly. I think that needs to be taken care of. Plus the fact that be it the politicians or the media, if we exercise restraint and not pass judgments, but at the same time, if there is violation of law, we come in and we act as checks and balances, I think we would be doing a lot of good to the society.
Vrinda, last word to you.
Yeah, just one to Gaurav Bhatia first. Please go back and see what DGP of UP, Mr. Banerjee, even before the matter was handed over to the CBI, he was demolishing the theory of rape and saying no rape has taken place, this post-mortem is wrong. How he came to that conclusion, we don't know. He has made public statements printed in the media. I want to know if the UP state has done anything about that. Secondly, when he says the state of UP stands vindicated, there are 2 young girls whose lives have been lost. Surely it is nobody's case in this country that only if a woman is raped, is it an accountability issue? The extinguishing of 2 lives of young girls is a huge responsibility and points to crimes against women, which the state of UP needs to take note of.
I think that's why we are debating this.
My last point is simply to say that to understand that we do not have to hinge any aspect of sexual violence only on medical or forensic tests. DNA now from exhumed bodies, how much has been contaminated? I'm afraid the expert did not answer that if you're not even getting the girl's DNA from her own salwar, what is happening? Surely there is contamination in the sample.
Gaurav, I know you want to come in over here. I'm afraid I'm completely out of time. We've got some important news coming up. But one way or the other, lots of questions being raised. Should there be restraint at all levels? But several questions do remain in this case, one of the most horrific that we've reported in a long time. I'd like to thank all of you for sharing all those perspectives on the program this evening.